much for that introduction. It always makes me really nervous when people introduce you. It gives you like the bit of an ick, doesn't it? So thank you very much for having me, guys. As Chantal mentioned, I'm going to be talking to you about branding the people within your business instead of branding your business in order to attract talent and basically win candidates. First and foremost, does anyone know what personal branding is? So no one knows what personal branding is. That's fantastic. Okay, so what is a personal brand? A personal brand is the individual reputation that every single one of you currently has in the room with each other, with your colleagues, with your CEO, with your friends, family, partner, boyfriend, wife, etc. Your personal brand essentially is a fancy way of saying your reputation, right? And it's oftentimes that your reputation is what's going to separate you as an employer or as a recruiter or as a talent acquisition person aside from another employer, talent acquisition person, recruiter, etc. When you're dealing with people, people buy from people, okay? And that's basically what personal branding is using your personality and your reputation to win people over to work for your business. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. For context, I have worked in the recruitment space for about 5 years before starting my business, Klowt, which is a personal branding agency. And we work with many, many organizations to help them build personal brands within their business in order to attract talent, but not just attract talent, attract the right culture fit, the right value fit, and much higher quality of talent than you're currently getting inbound into your career pages, etc. So that's what personal branding is. So how does personal branding attract talent and why does it matter? Well, first and foremost, all of you, I imagine, post on LinkedIn when you have a job, right? Hands up who does that? Who posts on LinkedIn when they have a job? Okay, great, all of you. How many of you are leveraging your employees to also post those jobs? Okay. How many of you are encouraging proactively your employees to be talking about your company culture before you get to that stage? Okay, so we're getting slightly more niche down now. There's a very, very small amount of you. And how many of you are empowering your team to be talking about whatever they want because they're an individual and they should be promoting themselves online? Okay, so the same people that said they're getting people to promote the culture of the company. So not very many of you. For those of you that all put your hand up when I said how many of you post when you're looking for when you're posting for a job, all of you guys are leaving candidates and money on the table, and these 5 here are the ones that are getting the best candidates right now. And the reason that is because currently you're only leveraging a very tiny amount of the reach that you could be leveraging online by only sharing that from your company page. LinkedIn values members' content over company updates and sponsored ads. So if you're only relying on your company updates and sponsored ads to win candidates, you are leaving people on the table, okay? The second most important thing about this is people don't trust your company page. Like, legitimately, they don't. People don't trust companies saying, I'm a great employer, I have great benefits, I'm going to treat you well and give you personal development and let you work from home. People don't believe you, but they believe your team. They'll believe the people who are already working in the organization, who are already bought into your business, who are already seeing all of those benefits that you're talking about. 92% of people trust strangers over company brands. Okay? So if you're not leveraging your team to be promoting your employer brand, to be promoting your culture internally, like externally, what are you doing? You're missing out on so much opportunity. So coming back to my beautiful pie graph here, the reach your current talent acquisition team have is about this big. If you then share those posts on LinkedIn, you get a little bit more reach. But as we now know, LinkedIn looks after people's content before company updates and sponsored ads. The reach your employees have is 561% more than your company brand. So you need to be getting your team to post online, above jobs. And to hammer this point home even more before I'm going to move on to the next thing, I'm sure all of you will agree that your employees and the candidates that come through your employees are a much better fit than the ones that come through your careers page or come through your recruiters or come through even sometimes being headhunted. So let your team do all the grunt work for you and attract all those people to the organization. My company's business, the top 3rd search that we have on Google is jobs at Klowt. And that's because my team, lovely Danielle who's sitting at the front was my first employee, my team are doing such a good job of putting so much content out about Klowt that people want to work for us before they even know a job's available. And that's the position that you guys need to be in, because that's ultimately where you're going to be able to snap candidates up where your competitors want to snap them up. And it's probably also worth noting that 85% of your candidate base that you'd like to work with isn't looking right now. So you need to be able to influence their buying decision when they are ready to work for you. We've already done that stat, so we'll move on from that slide. So, how does building personal brands from an employer branding perspective differ from traditional recruiting? So I'm sure everyone can agree that recruiting traditionally is a very much like a one-to-one relationship building exercise. You are reaching out to an individual on LinkedIn. You are having a conversation with an individual who's made an application to your business, right? There is only so many conversations you can have in a day around that kind of relationship building process. When we bring in social media into the mix, which is what hopefully all of you are doing, you're then able to have like a one to quite a few conversation, right? You're able to speak to many people, but it's very much a one-way thing. You're putting stuff out there and going, hi guys, I'm hiring, please come and work for my business because I'm great. That's how that conversation goes, right? When you use your employees to build their personal brands, to show people that your culture is fucking amazing and that people love working for you, you're not having a one-to-one conversation. You're not talking at people. You're building a community around the individuals who are already on payroll, who are already in your business, and who are then getting buy-in from people just like them to work for you. It's not a one-to-many conversation. It's a one-to-infinite conversation, which is incredibly scalable versus a one-to-one conversation, right? It's the same goes for anything, sales, etc. If you're trying to speak to one person, you're going to only ever be able to speak to a maximum number of people in 24 hours. If you're trying to speak to millions of people, the only way you can do that is by infiltrating the communities those people are already in, and your employees are already in those communities. So stop talking at the candidates that you want to work with and get your people to influence them from within those communities. So, how can we get the $1 million question? How can we get our employees to advocate for us online? Hands up, has anyone tried to get their team to do this before? Okay, how many successfully have done it? Kind of. Okay, so the biggest blocker that you're going to have with people building their personal brands online is two things. One, confidence, right? That's always going to be a problem. We can't even have opinions around a dinner table with our friends, least of all share them online, right? And the second thing that you're going to have a problem with is people are absolutely terrified that they're going to damage your company brand. And that is either through the management you currently have in your business, or it's been inherited from a previous business where they worked for a micromanager who didn't let them post anything they wanted. So those are two problems that you're going to come up against when you're getting your employees to share content online on behalf of the company, right? But the good news is we can get over those things. So the first thing I want you to do in order to empower your team to build their personal brands in order to accelerate your talent acquisition and accelerate your employer branding is, first and foremost, you have to get so clear on what your employer brand is. And what I mean by that is you have to have a clearly defined framework of what your values are, what your employee value proposition is, what your company values are. Like it has to be so ironclad, and every single person in your business has to believe in those things. So, company culture, that's what's felt. That's something that your employees feel. That's not something you can tell them that your company is, right? Your company value proposition, that is your benefits, that is your pay, that is the things that you do for your team that make them love working for you. It's the value proposition. And then your company values is the thing that ties everyone together, right? It's the thing that makes everyone a culture fit, even if everyone has a completely different experience, a completely different background, completely different, etc. Define your employer brand. Most of you probably would have tried to do that or have done that, but just revisit it, look at it, make sure you've got everything, all your ducks in a row. And most importantly, communicate this to your team. Because it's all good and well HR and recruiters and in-house employer branding people doing this. Guys, this is our values, this is our employer brand. If your team don't know what that is, how on earth do you expect them to communicate that to the people that are in their network? So this needs to become part of every single piece of your collateral. Your values need to weave through your performance reviews. You need to have your company culture reviewed by culture champions on a monthly basis. You need to be reviewing your employee value proposition every single quarter with the people who are already in your business. Don't just feel completely tied to what you currently do. Be innovative and interesting and figure out what your current team want your employer brand to be. So define your employer brand. We've saved the slides and it's gone a bit funny. We move. Once you figured out what your employer brand is, you then need to create brand pillars, right? So what your brand pillars are is your company culture, your employee value proposition, and your values, right? I break this down into what I call content pillars because this is going to help your marketing team or your employees individually or whoever it is that's going to centralize this or not centralize it, be able to create content off the back of this strategy in order for you to attract people. So a good example of your company culture, Danielle, sorry to embarrass you. A good example of a company culture post is your team freely posting on TikTok through their own TikTok channels or your own company channel, showing people what it's like to work at your business. Like, what can they be sharing? And I'm not just saying TikTok, it can be Instagram, it could be LinkedIn, it could be whatever. LinkedIn ideally, because that's where you're going to attract people. But wherever it is, you need to get your team involved in creating content around your culture. Go and ask every single person in your business if you can, or pick 10 people in your business if you can, and ask them, what do you love about working here? What's the thing that makes you stay? And then build content around those 10 things, those 10 answers that you get. The next thing is your employee value proposition, right? You need to be talking about what you offer all the time. And when I say you need to be talking about that, I mean your team needs to be talking about that, right? So what can they be telling their audience about your business that's going to make people like them want to work for you? So poor Danielle's getting absolutely hammered today. Another example of a good post around here is Danielle wrote about 85% of people being unhappy in their jobs, and she's been there. She can relate to that. I don't incentivize these, by the way. My team aren't incentivized to post about Klowt. They just do because they love working at Klowt. And I guarantee all of the people that you guys have hired love working in your business. You just need to not incentivize them, but you need to give them a bit of a confidence boost to talk about that online. So in the employee value proposition post, Danielle's talking about the benefits that we offer as a business. And we got loads of inbound applications off that post. I think that post did quite well, didn't it, Danielle? 1,000 likes, something like that. Show me a company page that gets 1,000 likes on a benefits post. Doesn't happen. The final piece of this is your values. As I said earlier, get your values involved in everything from performance reviews, interviews, exit interviews. Every part of your business your values needs to be the golden thread, right? Because that's ultimately why people are going to join your business. And that will encourage your team also to post content relating to your values. So one of our new employees spoke about some of the things that she loved working at Klowt as a newbie. And every single one of those things ties into our values, right? So your content pillars, your company culture, your employee value proposition, and your values. Get super clear on what those three things are. Communicate them to your employees and empower them to create content about those three things by giving them examples of what those three things can look like from a content perspective. And if you're really lazy, you can get marketing to do it. So we work with a lot of big businesses, Skybet, Cummins, Paddy Power, etc., on helping them leverage the people within their business to attract talent to work for them. And the way we've done that is help marketing create content around those three things that I mentioned, the values, the company culture, and the employee value proposition, that then gets distributed by the employees. Marketing is no longer a centralized function just for branding the business. It's a centralized function for branding the people within the business, and that's what's going to attract more people to work for your business. So a really great example of this would be if you have your marketing strategy and you're currently setting aside 30% of their time to be dedicated towards recruitment marketing, at least 15% of that time and resource needs to be spent creating content that your employees can share. And I don't mean white papers or testimonials. That's not interesting. That's not fun. We want to see what you did on your company social. We want to see the person that got promoted and why they got promoted. We want to see the inspirational stories from the person who applied for your company 3 times and got rejected 2 of those times and finally got in on the 3rd try. That is what's going to want to make people work for you. And that is what your team needs to be sharing. You need to be training your guys to be talking about their experience in your organization and why it's great. And they will be so happy to do that because they love working for you. And that is going to remove a lot of the barriers that I spoke about earlier in terms of confidence and not wanting to kind of ruin the company brand. Because if you're telling them, we want you to post online and we want you to post about what it's like working here, they're going to feel confident in doing that because you've hired them for their values, right? At least I hope they have. There's not that many people that nodded there. Hopefully you've hired them for their values and hopefully they match the values of your business. And if they do, then why wouldn't they want to talk about working with you? And if they don't, then you can use this centralized function in order to create content to help people do that. Some great examples of some companies that do this really well are Gymshark. Gymshark are fantastic at empowering their team to post content. The Go Agency, which I'm going to get onto in a minute, the Go Agency created a daily vlog exclusively to hire more people. That is a real centralized employer branding tactic, right? They've created an entire vlog that every single person in their company shared every single day. That is personal branding at scale, right? So think about how you can centralize this and make it easier for your teams to execute personal branding as an employer branding strategy. Which leads me really nicely onto the Go Agency. Hands up anyone who follows the Go Agency already. 2 people. Come on, guys, they're fantastic. Right, get onto LinkedIn, every single one of you, whip your phones out right now and go and follow the Go Agency and have a look at the people who are working at the Go Agency and the content that they're posting. The Go Agency figured out that they were really struggling to hire people inbound through their careers page and through various job ads they had up. And that was stopping them from growing. I think we can all agree that hiring people is normally the number one barrier to growing our businesses, right? So what they did was they realized that most of the people that came to them through either referrals or some kind of networking thing came to the Go Agency to work for the Go Agency because they'd in some way had some touch point with either one of the founders or with someone that had already worked in the business, right? So the guys who founded that business thought, how can we scale that intimacy? How can we scale that relationship building exercise in order to generate more applications? Because when they first started, they were only getting about 50 applications a week, which for an agency that was growing like 500% year on year was not enough, right? Because for 50 applications, let's be honest, there's probably one in there that's actually decent. So they needed to accelerate how much quantity they were getting, but they also needed to accelerate the quality of the candidates they were getting in as well. So what they did is created a vlog. They hired a team of, I think it was 2 initially, it's now 4. 2 people, 1 to film, 1 to edit. And they churned out a vlog every single day. You don't need to hire anyone to do this, by the way. We have a vlog that goes out every single week, and our guys in-house do that. Some of the team film it, some of our video guys film it, we edit it up, we flip it out, and we put it out on everyone's social media, and we get so much engagement, but more importantly, so many messages from people who've seen those vlogs and gone, this looks like a really fun place to work. And that's what we want people to feel about our company, right? So that's why vlogging is so powerful and can be so, so good for a company that's trying to leverage personal brands to get inbound applications. So they start the vlog. They started posting it on LinkedIn every single day. Everyone in the business posted the vlog every single day. And within 6 weeks, they went from getting 50 applications per week to over 900 applications per week. In 6 weeks. How many of you spend advertising money on getting job ads out there? It's quite expensive, isn't it? Are you getting 900 applications per week from high quality candidates for that spend? I'll let you answer that yourselves. So we're getting 900 applications per week, but more importantly, those 900 applications they were getting per week, the quality of those candidates was exceptional. Because guess what? When people see content created by your team, they go, I don't want to work with them. They look like a bunch of assholes. Or actually, I really want to work with them. They look really fun. You've just qualified out people that don't match your values. Well done. So when you put yourself out there, when you get your team to be authentically themselves, that's going to repel 50% of the people that you potentially want to hire, which is excellent. Because that means you don't have to interview them to figure out that they're not a good match, right? Everyone's laughing because they've all been there in a room with someone who on paper looked amazing but turned out to be a dick, right? So we don't want dicks. We want people who are really, really value aligned, really, really company culture aligned. And that is what personal branding is going to do. It's going to repel the candidates that you don't want to hire, and it's going to attract the ones that you do want to hire. So they got all these applications, fantastic. obviously saved a lot of money in recruitment fees. We all know how expensive recruiters were. I used to be one and made a lot of money doing it. So thank you to all of you guys who couldn't do it in-house and had to outsource it to me. But we all know recruiters are expensive, right? So all of this was great, but they can now also, on top of this recruitment marketing exercise, can attribute over £7 million in inbound revenue for an exercise that started as we need to attract more candidates, ended up being people actually want to pay us because they like our team and they see our team and we're value aligned to their team. So it ended up being a good revenue exercise as well. So for anyone that wants to see a good example of this, go and look at the vlog agency. You can also go and look at our stuff. Our vlog is very basic. Like some episodes are rubbish. And that's going to be how it works. If you are going to go down the vlog route, some content's not going to be great. But the reality is the more consistently you're putting out that kind of content through your team's individuals' channels, the more likely you are to build rapport with their network, the more likely you are to get applications from their network. I think this is the final slide. How are we doing for time? We've got 10 minutes. Great. That means I can have lots of questions. I'm hoping you guys have got lots of questions. I think you can all agree it's not enough to be the best employer. Hands up anyone who always sits there when they're thinking about hiring or putting out job applications and goes, I just wish people knew what our culture was like. They'd love it. Yeah? Every single talent acquisition person I've spoken to and every single employer branding person I've spoken to goes, I just wish people knew what it was like working here. So tell people. Stop gatekeeping that. Stop not opening the curtains and letting people into what it's like to work at your organization. Look at Gymshark, look at Go Agency, look at Klowt, look at AppsFlyer, look at all these amazing businesses who've managed to scale off the back of their employees' brands. It's not enough to be the best employer, you have to be the best known employer. And the only way you're going to do that is by getting your team to share content that makes you the best known employer. Okay? Questions. And there's no questions off limits, by the way, guys. This is where you're going to get the most value from me. So please come armed.
Hello. Hey, I'm on. Amazing. I think first of all, a round of applause. I mean, that's a brilliant talk. Thankfully, we do have a lot of time for questions. We've probably got about 20 minutes. So. Perfect. What I'd love is hands up if you have got a question, because we have a runner. I can see somebody there straight away. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your amazing talk. So my question is, for the organisations that work in a remote environment, how do we do this? How do we bring out the engagement from our employees, especially because they're all remote? How do we then build that content? And then how do we showcase that to the communities that we try to attract?
So I think first and foremost, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the remote aspect of your company is probably your superpower, right? That's the reason why people probably first and foremost enjoy working for your business, because there's not a lot of companies that are 100% remote, right? So I think you need to put that into those content pillars that we were speaking about earlier. Part of your employer brand is we are remote, right? So to get your employees on board with this, first of all, I think you need to explain to them why it's so important that they are starting to get involved in this personal branding thing, and why it's so important that they're leveraging their networks to bring in more people. But more importantly, remind them why they joined your business. And wouldn't you like more people like you to be in this business and in this innovative space where we don't care whether you work from home or not? And then I don't know if you're thinking more from a kind of content creation perspective, but if one of your brand pillars is remote work, you have an infinite number of things that you could talk about under that content pillar. Chris Hurd is an example of someone who only talks about remote work and has about 1 million followers on LinkedIn. So I would look at people who are doing that type of thing well and learn from them, understand what people are responding to in terms of content, and that weave that into some kind of prompt sheet that you could share with your team and say, right guys, we want you to post 3 times a week. The first post of the week is about remote work and why you think it's great, or any comments that you have on remote work, or if there's a company that's recently announced they're bringing out everyone back to the office, like Google I think announced they were doing that. What are your thoughts on that? You could even send them a prompt out each day of what to talk about in that topic. The second post could be around something personal to them. So like how working for your business has allowed them to live their best life. Like I can go to the gym in the morning now because I remote work, etc., etc. And then the third post of the week is about your culture. How you're leveraging, creating a community of people when you're not actually seeing each other face to face. That's quite interesting. And that's going to attract a lot of people to want to work for your company, because they're going to go, thankfully, there is someone who has got sense and is the kind of company that I want to work for. So get your team on board with why this is important, remind them why they joined your organization in the first place, and then give them a framework and to execute that. And that could be simply that you say, right guys, here's a prompt sheet. Or right guys, we're going to send you a message each morning of what we think you should be talking about. And don't be worried if your team talking about the same thing, because every single one of them have got a different network, every single one of them have a different experience, and every single one of them have got something different to say. So even if you all talk about the same thing every day, you're going to get a different piece of content out of them. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Amazing, and amazing advice. And I think there are people out there with real life case studies to go and look at and do see what other people are doing and say, will this work for us? Did we have any other questions? We do, just at the front here, please. Thank you.
Thanks. Hi. I was just wondering how you would, because obviously with Klowt and some of these other organizations that you've mentioned, they tend to be, they're much more kind of recent organizations, whereas I'm wondering how you would approach this with an organization that's been around for a very long time, with a much older workforce. Some people have been there for years, decades even, don't really have like a LinkedIn social media profile, or, I mean, a lot of people do, but I'm just wondering how you would approach it in a very different, a lot more structured and much older organization with an older workforce.
Yeah, so it's great question, because I think there's a lot of people are going to be thinking the same things of like, this is an agency, this looks great, but actually there's no way that Steve from HR is going to want to do this. Good question. We worked with Cummins, which for anyone that's interested in American businesses is one of the oldest, most boring, stuffy businesses you can go. They make compound combustion engines or something, and they've been going since like 1940, so it's a pretty clunky organization, right? FTSE 160, Fortune 160. Their biggest problem was exactly what you said. Number one, they were all spread out, they're across the world, so trying to get this culture embedded into 15,000 employees is pretty difficult. And the second problem they had is it's an aging workforce. So the majority of people that are in that business aren't that interested in social media. They aren't that interested in keeping up to date with people. They aren't that interested in the whole like double tap culture that has come out of the last like 10 years or so. And what we did with them was basically empower them to do it from a perspective of like, how is this going to accelerate your opportunities? How is this going to make you look better? And when you kind of flip it back on them and say, right, so you've just told me that you're in a management position right now and you want to be a senior VP. How do you need to do that? Well, I've been told I need to do this and I need to do speaking gigs. Like, great, your personal brand is going to help you do that. It's going to give you visibility internally and externally. It's going to let the guys know in the C-suite that you're actually making an impact, not just internally, but online as well. Controversially, I think a lot of you guys can agree, it pays to be visible in a business, whether that be having a water cooler moment with the founder or the CEO, or putting yourself out there and getting some attention for the business. It pays to be visible, and that was kind of the framework that we used with Cummins to get people on side. We also built out a bit of a kind of copy and paste framework, if you like, whereby if your company does a lot of blogs, which it may do, if you're an older organization, you normally do lots of blogs and white papers. If you do lots of blogs and white papers, and there's bound to be stuff on there that's to do with the culture, we do what we call atomizing. So we'll take the long form content that you're currently creating about your culture, about relevant industry news, about whatever it might be, and we break it down into like the most important things that are in that in that long form blog on your website, and then create content out of that everyone can share. Like, that content's already there, so all you need to do is go through the blog and go, right, that paragraph there could be an entire post. Let's put that in the content plan so that everyone can share that particular piece of content. Or let's put another picture in the content plan of the team when we had that offsite last year and what we did. Again, you can literally write this for them and say, all I need you to do is post it. And normally if you come from a perspective, this is going to benefit you, they're more likely to want to get on board with it. But I will say that will be about 30 to 40% of the people in your organization that will be like, not that bothered. You only need about 10% of people to actually uptake this in order for it to have a big impact.
Amazing. Do we have any Steve from HR, by the way? Do we have a Steve from HR? No.
Sorry, Steve.
Okay, sorry, Steve. We love you. Any other questions? We have somebody here. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that chat. It was really good. how do we encourage people in the organisation with not a lot of social media confidence to actually share and actually have the confidence to post on social media? They get quite scared in actually doing that, thinking that, oh, am I going to post the wrong thing, or I don't know how to do it, etc., etc. So outside of like HR, who normally do, how do we encourage our employees to post about the culture and the values?
I think first and foremost, if you can get them to comment on other people's stuff, there's two parts to this. The way that LinkedIn works is when you comment on someone else's post, your network sees. And then if the person that you've commented on replies, their network sees. And then if you add the whole kind of other element to this, which is your employees are posting consistently, and the network goes onto that person's profile and goes, oh, this is an interesting person, they become a follower. So if I were you, I would get everyone to start commenting on people's content. It's so much easier to add to a conversation than it is to start one. And from a kind of employer branding perspective, you might not see a lot from that, but the confidence that your team will get from that is huge. Because what will eventually happen is they'll add their thoughts to someone's post, and then loads of people will go, I agree. Thank you so much for saying this. And we all need a little cosign every now and again to make us feel validated and that our opinions are right, and that, you know, what we're saying is intelligent and smart and all those things. And once they start that kind of validation, as awful as it is, from the internet, they'll then have a lot more confidence in posting their own content on social media. But to kind of shortcut all that, I would just create it for them. Like, if you're doing this from an employer branding perspective, you don't even need to make it that complicated. Just create 3 posts a week and a content plan about your company culture, and just say, guys, can you just pick one of these and share it? Like, it doesn't need to be that difficult. I think people think about personal branding and the execution of it as like this really complicated beast. It's really not. If you need your employees to be known, or rather get your employees to be known as employees of your organization, and your organization needs to be known as the best employer or the best known employer, just send them content to share. But don't do the thing that every other company does, which is, guys, can you come and like our company update? Because that's not helpful. As I said, LinkedIn ranks members' content above sponsored updates and company ads. So if you're trying to drive traffic to your company page, it's never going to work. Just get people to share the content that you're creating on their own LinkedIn pages. Cut out the middleman of like this, we need you to post content, to be like, here, take this and post it. And what you'll find is naturally, like my team have, is they'll get confidence once they start posting that content, that they'll start chucking their own stuff in there. So yeah, just do it for them.
Amazing. Did we have any other questions from the audience? Oh, we've got loads to go. Here we go. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm from the White Company, so we have quite a good brand in like the consumer market, but for us it is about creating a good employer brand, and we're definitely on the right road. We're all about authentic content for our Instagram at Work page and, you know, other channels. But I suppose for me in particular, a lot of pushback that I get is from directors saying that actually you're marketing our employees and potentially making them targets to be headhunted, which is, you know, we have those conversations, but how would you manage that conversation when it's something we constantly keep having as feedback in particular?
Yeah, I have this conversation a lot, as I'm sure you can imagine, and my answer always is, so do you really think that you're not looking after your employees enough that they can be poached from someone because they're posting content online?
We say that as well.
Because I'm not being funny, literally when we got here, she goes, I've got another headhunt message. My employee said that to me this morning, and I know that she's not going to, well, hopefully, I know that she's not going to leave because I look after my team. And if someone wants to leave, and I know I've done everything I can as an employer to look after them, okay, have an amazing time. I would much rather be a Springboks organization that looked after people that while they were with me and could leverage that relationship. Because how powerful, by the way, to your point, would it be if you came across someone ex-White Company going, I loved working there. Yeah. I don't work there anymore, but I loved working there. That is way more powerful than your current employee or even your company brand talking about it. So don't be afraid of people getting poached, because if they're going to get poached, they're going to get poached anyway. It's not because they put themselves out there. If they love your business and they love working for you and think you're a great employer, there is no amount of headhunting messages that's going to make them leave. They might kind of bring it back and leverage you and trying to get a bit more money from you because they're getting so many opportunities, but it's very unlikely that they're going to leave. So I think that's the first piece. And I can understand that conversation can be quite challenging, especially if people are in the C-suite and, you know, you're not. Having that kind of assertiveness can sometimes be be a little bit difficult of a conversation to have. But I also think there's a piece in here of like, what if we don't do this? What does that mean to your bottom line? Because realistically, if they've employed an entire in-house talent acquisition team to hire people, but they're blocking you from hiring those people, okay, we can do it your way, but this is what it's going to mean in terms of hiring. Especially when you consider the facts, which I'm more than happy to send you, by the way. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, I can send you all the data that you need to convince someone. But employees have 10x the reach of your company brand online. Leads and candidates that come through employees' social media convert 7 times more frequently. Brand messages shared by employees online get 24 times more engagement than brand messages shared on a company page. So do you want to hire people or do you not want to lose people? Because you can't have both. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's really good. Thank you.
It's just confirmed, I think, probably what you were already thinking. Yeah.
Sometimes that helps though, right? Just to be able to confirm it and soundboard it. That's still really valuable. We have about 9 minutes left. Were there any other questions from the audience? Okay, we've got this young woman over here. Thank you.
Thanks, really interesting talk. My question's around suggestions for which social media platforms for our employees to share content on, coming from like a health tech, pharma, more regulated industry point of view.
So where are you currently getting the most applications from, like channel-wise?
LinkedIn.
So I would stick to LinkedIn then.
We're not missing out by not going anywhere else.
There's 2 things, right? My first thought is you need to go to the watering hole that the people are drinking at. I think there is a bit of an issue with, and look, it's part of our lifestyle as everyone goes, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on Twitter, I need to be on TikTok, I need to be on, oh my God, Be Real. Do we need a Be Real account as well? Like it becomes a bit overwhelming of needing to feel like you have to be in every single room at the same time. The reality is you only have to be in the right room. And if you're getting the majority of your applications already, and also I think it's probably worth noting where have the best applications come from, that to me is the obvious channel. There's no point in you having a party over on TikTok when the best party on the same day is currently happening on LinkedIn. You just may as well go to the party that's already happening and then network there. So LinkedIn would be an obvious choice. And to your regulation perspective, I don't see there's any reason why that should stop you sharing content if it's about your company. Like we work with a lot of financial institutions which are heavily regulated on what they can and can't say. We've never had an issue with sharing content, ever. Because it's about the company not giving advice or commenting on the industry or that kind of stuff. So yeah, if LinkedIn's where you're getting your most quality applications from, stick at LinkedIn and then just encourage the people in your business to do that for you as opposed to just on the company page.
Thank you.
Amazing. I know that there was a woman right at the front
These 2
who
ladies
had
had
a
their
question.
hands up every time.
Yeah, I've spotted them. We're coming over to you, we promise.
Thank you. Hi, thank you very much for you being here today. That was one of the main reasons why I came here. You're so inspiring. Thank you. My question would be, what would be the main free tools, hand-on tools probably that you are using for building your brand? I remember one video where you were saying how to record the video on Instagram, for example. What would be other tools you're using?
So the main tools to build personal brands. Are you talking from an employer branding perspective or from a personal?
From your personal.
From my personal perspective. Gosh, how long have we got? I think first and foremost, if for anyone in the room, I mean, you can take this from an employer branding perspective, but also from your own personal brand perspective. One of the best places that you can go to get inspiration of what you should be talking about for your personal brand is Answer the Public. So Answer the Public is this website where basically you can chuck in search terms. And this is great, by the way, from a candidate perspective. If you're trying to figure out what people are searching for in your market, you can go on Answer the Public and type in pharma jobs or engineering jobs or whatever it might be, and Answer the Public will kick back all of the things that people are searching for. So for example, if you're trying to hire people in pharma and you put in pharma careers or pharma jobs or how do I get a job in pharma or whatever your search term is, and Answer the Public kicks back all these answers. One of those things might be, how do I increase my salary in pharma? How do I get my next job in pharma? Pharma recruiters. Why are salaries in pharma gatekept? Why don't I know what this is now content? Because these people are the people you're trying to attract. These are questions they're asking Google and you can answer them as content, right? So some of my best performing posts have come from questions. To your point, the video you're talking about, here's how you can create free video content with captions. I got that from Answer the Public. How do you create free videos with captions? I was like, great, people need to know the answer to that. I'm going to make a video about it. And to your point, you've mentioned it here, so clearly it worked because you're here to listen to what I've got to say. So Answer the Public is a really great tool. The second thing would be also to ask candidates, or whatever your goal is for this personal branding exercise, ask the people who are already in your network, who are already fulfilling the goal that you're trying to achieve with personal branding, why they came to you. Like, what made them apply? What made them go through the 2-stage process? What questions did they ask at interview? What didn't they know about your business, etc.? That then can become content as well. So leveraging the people in your network is the second thing. And I think the third thing isn't really a tool, but it's just be consistent. Like, part of the reason why I'm standing here and why we built Klowt and why we have all these amazing clients and stuff is because, yes, I post content and all that kind of stuff. Half of it's quite good, half of it's not good. That's just how it kind of works. But I've never stopped posting. I've been posting for 4 years. And that's why we're here, right? So it's not necessarily, yes, you need quality of content, but you also need consistency in posting it. And that's where a lot of you guys are going to find you need to build a structure out for your team and say, right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, here's what you need to post, because that is what keeps the consistency going. So yeah, Answer the Public, your network, and yourself.
So
Thank you very much.
Ask the Public is free, right?
I think you get 4 free searches.
There we go. So it's a great way to test it as well.
Yeah.
We've got time for one more question. So over to you. Did you not have a question? No. Okay. Does anybody else have a question? Sorry, we thought you had a question for the.
Sorry, I didn't realise you were looking at me. Don't look at me that closely now. I'm
it's
embarrassed.
over to you.
Well, from our team's brand, so we're beginning to get some traction with our team with regard to posting, etc.
Amazing.
And that's really great. We started with the liking, commenting, sharing, etc. So we started with basic. One of the challenges we've got in our organisation at the minute is with leadership. The leadership know that what we're doing is working. They recognise it across the business. They say it's really great, but yet trying to get them to actually mimic or copy or just understand what we're doing is actually really difficult. And I'm trying to work out whether I'm best to give them almost a content plan with detailed descriptions or whether it's just jump off points. What do you find to be the most lucrative way of training senior managers and getting them to actually do what you need them to do in order to get their teams posting and to get that viral effect?
Yeah. What we did with Skybet, which was exactly this, by the way, employer branding brought us in and was like, you need to be doing this. And they went, I haven't really got time for that. So what we did was we did a session where we basically showed them the point of this, including data. So like when an employee or when a senior leadership person posted something on LinkedIn, the impact that had on the careers page. So that was great. And then the second thing we did was sit down with them and work out exactly what they want to be known for. So normally it was like leadership, like mentorship, relationship building. It's all the kind of like lovely, fluffy stuff that typically as leaders want to be known for, right? Because you want to be seen as a good person. And when you got to that level of your career, normally it's less about the do and more about the strategic stuff. So working out what they want to be known for. And then what we used to do, depending on your time and how much investment you have to put into this from a resources perspective, we just interviewed them once a month. We had a 15-minute interview where we used to bring questions around the topics they wanted to be known for, and then we would upload that interview, depending on whether they wanted to do video content or not, but we would upload that interview to Otter, which is a free transcription service, and then we would just copy and paste the text out of that and turn it into content for them. Here's your content plan, Mr. CEO. Have a great month. See you next time. And just do that every single month. And the time that it took the employer branding team to do that was about, I want to say 2 hours a month for the whole senior leadership team. Because essentially you're not writing anything. They've already said it. You just have to copy it out of the transcription platform and put it into a content plan. And if you're going into those things with questions that they actually want to answer and they're actually interested in answering, you're much more likely to get buy-in from them. And then even better, if they've got an EA or something that you can leverage to post the content for them, they don't even need any involvement in it. And then they'll start to see the traction from it. Then when you come to the next month, be like, look, this post that you did last week, we got 20 applications from that. They'll go, wow. Okay, so I knew this worked, but actually it really works. And then they get interested in it and are more likely to want to do it.
Thank you. Much appreciated.